Jackson Arnold, going back to the place where you failed, right? I think that's a good way to put it. It kind of gives you that chill a little bit, right? Like it could have been worse, and mentally it just does something to you. Week 4, one of the biggest games we're going to see is between two undefeated teams in the SEC. The Auburn Tigers going on the road to play the Oklahoma Sooners in Norman with the former Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold now as the starting quarterback at Auburn. You know the environment's going to be nuts. September 20th, right? That's on Saturday, 2:30, ABC game. Should be one of the best of the weekends, and we're here to preview it, let you know kind of what we think, where the matchup problems could be, what the injury situation is, to get you ready for what should be a hell of a game in week 4. As usual, I'm joined by former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crain. And Blaine, I'm going to start with you, man. Just right off the rip, because we can get into the numbers, and obviously you're going to give us the line. You know, ESPN, the matchup predictor, has Oklahoma's a 65.3% chance to win. Oklahoma's got John Mateer, right? Jackson Arnold's now at Auburn. Is Auburn good enough to go into Oklahoma and beat them? Are they good enough to go to Oklahoma and beat them with this Oklahoma team that looks balanced, that looks pissed off, and that looks to have a dude that can make plays and possibly win the Heisman at the quarterback position? But, I mean, I guess Jackson could too. What say ye?
I mean, yeah. Does Auburn have the talent to go beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma? Absolutely. That's why the spread's 5.5. But a couple of things are going to happen for them to go and do that. One, you know, how are you going to approach John Mateer? How are you going to approach this Oklahoma offense? We've seen a couple weeks now where Auburn hasn't, one, came out with a great game plan, or two, haven't adjusted well. And if you're going to beat an Oklahoma team, those two things you have to get right. Can you make Oklahoma one-dimensional? I mean, they beat Michigan with being one-dimensional. But to me, you have to do something to somewhat try to put John Mateer in a box. And I think one big thing they'll have to do is what Blake Baker does a great job at LSU. I mean, you got to trick them, right? You have to show one thing and do another. And I think Auburn can do that with Dirk at defensive coordinator. But the big storyline is, and we all know it, I mean, Jackson Arnold going back home, right? The revenge game, the Darth Vader game, the villain game that Jackson Arnold could be if he goes toe-to-toe. If Jackson Arnold goes toe-to-toe with John Mateer and they beat him, some conversations are going to start about Jackson Arnold actually might get talked about in that Heisman list. I think that'll be this big of a football game.
Well, Cone, you know, you have the schematic side of it, which I want to get into, and then you have the personnel and mental side of it. Blaine brings up Jackson Arnold going back to the place where you failed, right? I think that's a good way to put it. Or, you know, if you've ever been in a car wreck, right? And I hope everybody's okay out there, obviously. But every time you drive by the spot that you got in that car wreck, it kind of gives you that chill a little bit, right? Like it could have been worse, and mentally it just does something to you. I mean, you're a former Big Ten quarterback, right? You know, I know you never transferred from one school to the other, but I think that either goes one of two ways, right? You embrace it and use it as fuel, and you're not too emotional, or you're over emotional and you let it dictate how you play. Which side of the coin do you think Jackson Arnold falls on?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I mean, first off, what an awesome challenge for Auburn at a perfect time in the season, because you started with a tough but beatable opponent against Baylor, and you went on the road and beat them by 2 touchdowns. Now you've handled business against a group of 5 opponents back-to-back weeks. Now you get to walk into a serious challenge after you've been able to cut your teeth a little bit, and we can't hide the fact that, yes, there are going to be certain emotions for Jackson Arnold going back to Oklahoma. Yes, there's going to be added motivation to beat the team who really, didn't want you and you transferred out. Will that make up for any, lack of skill or lack of ability that he may have in certain areas? Time will tell. I personally would take John Mateer over Jackson Arnold, even with that added motivation. But you just can't. It's like you can't calculate that, right? Like that's a thing that's internal, and I'm so excited for him to have that opportunity, especially to go on the road and do something like that. A couple other things from the Oklahoma side that I will say, just from watching that game and dissecting that game, particularly against Michigan, what makes John Mateer so lethal is he was able to make significant plays downfield even when Michigan theoretically won that play. I mean, you go back and you look at a couple of those corner cats where Michigan actually got home. You've won the play. Finish, tackle, bring him to the ground. He escapes. He's able to keep his eyes downfield. He continues to make plays. That's one of the things that just makes him so difficult to defend against.
No, and I mean, again, you brought in Mateer to be your mercenary to go win this whole thing, and you got to put it all on his back, and that's what they do. I mean, he leads the team in carries with 33, averaging almost 5 yards a carry with 4 touchdowns. Obviously, being the quarterback, he's the one that directs the orchestra, and he touches it every time. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he kicks a couple at the end of the day. But on that point of Oklahoma's offense versus Auburn's defense, if we're going to get into the schematic, which obviously blends with the personnel, I don't know a way in which Auburn can come out and play as much man coverage and think they're just going to be able to pressure John Mateer and get away with it, because you may get him a couple times, but I watched him make a guy miss, keep his eye downfield. That's one of the things he does about as well as I thought Jaden Daniels did at LSU. You're such a threat to run, but you always keep your eyes down the field when you're moving outside of the pocket, which creates some big third down conversions that we've seen already, or some big touchdown plays. Blaine, if Auburn goes in here and DJ Durkin can, and I know he's going to try it because that's who he is, but at some point, when you look at what South Alabama was able to do to you in man coverage, when you look at what Baylor was able to do to you in man coverage, Ball State didn't have the cats to do it. They didn't have the quarterback to do it. Oklahoma does. And the scariest part about Oklahoma is that the guy who averages the most per catch has the third most catches on the team. It's the tight end. He averages 17 and a half yards a catch on 14 receptions. Yeah, Deion Burks got 17. He averages 13.2. Keontez Lewis averages 12.1. He's got 15. And Satania averages 12.1, and he's got 13. But Mateer is spraying it around the guys, and you can't double everybody. If Auburn's defense goes in there and schematically does what they've been doing, I don't know, unless guys just play the game of their life, if they can go in there and not give up 40 points.
I mean, yeah, if you're not going to adjust, and they haven't. Like, I'm going to be honest, if you watch the Auburn games play, they haven't. Even the South Alabama game. South Alabama was moving the ball almost at will throughout the entire game. But I will say this. You play an Oklahoma team like this, one thing you have to win is red zone. How many field goals can you give up? Right? How many times can you keep Oklahoma out of the end zone and just give up 3? We've seen John Mateer almost make mistakes. Right? You've seen that in the Michigan game. There is 2 to 3 to 4 passes to where he didn't layer a ball. He tried to force a ball. If you're going to go into Oklahoma and beat them, those can't be almost mistakes, right? Those have to be mistakes, right? You have to take advantage of mistakes if you're going to beat this Oklahoma team. And then on the other side, right, on the Auburn offensive side, how much is Jackson Arnold going to run? Right? How much is Jackson Arnold on QB design runs? Because they're doing it almost more than anybody in the country, in my opinion. Maybe not Oklahoma. I mean, hell, John ran it 15 times against Michigan. The QB run in this game, especially on third downs, right? Now, not even just a designated QB run, but who can get outside the pocket, make a guy miss, and go get a first down, who can extend the play, right? I think will have a huge factor in who ends up winning this football game.
Well, I mean, David, again, is it as simple? Does it truly just boil down to whoever is able to run the football with the most success, therefore setting up the opportunity for explosive plays down the field off of play action? Or, that's the problem with Mateer in Oklahoma, is that it's not like I can just load the box.
Yeah.
And then I let Deion Burks murder me for 4 quarters. Right.
Yeah.
And with Auburn, too, I don't think you can just load the box against Auburn and Jackson Arnold with Cam Coleman and Eric
what I was going to
Singleton
get
Jr.
to. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Are we in for a shootout?
Well, I don't know about that, but Auburn actually no, I actually think the opposite of that. But Auburn has great tape to watch with that Michigan game because Oklahoma's defense came in with a very rational plan and they executed it flawlessly. Let's dedicate resources to Michigan's run game and let's just see if the 18-year-old phenom Bryce Underwood can beat us through the air. And not only did he not do that, but Michigan really didn't even give him an opportunity to do that. What kept Michigan in that game were the Oklahoma mistakes that Blaine was alluding to with John Mateer and on special teams. So Auburn, very similar, right? In that game against Baylor, Baylor sat back in that too high shell and said, we'll make up for sitting in too high by dedicating our linebackers to the run game immediately, which will expose us to play action over the middle, but we're fine with that. Well, Auburn still rushed for over 300 yards. I don't think Auburn can do that against this Oklahoma defense if Oklahoma comes in with a similar game plan they did against Michigan, which means what? It's time for Jackson Arnold to deliver the football effectively through the air to these two unbelievable wide receivers we've been talking about all offseason. And there were Auburn fans who were, angry after a 14-point win against Baylor, like, well, we still didn't throw the football well enough, even though we ran for 300 yards. Well, you know what? Now's the time you're going to get to see because Oklahoma's not going to play you the way that Baylor did.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously I would take John Mateer over Jackson Arnold. I would right now, but I am wondering how much if you're Venables, if you're DJ Durkin, how much these defensive plans are going to mirror one another, because all the things you just said about Jackson Arnold, and I think John Mateer can and has and will beat people through the air. But I would much rather make John Mateer beat me through the air than being able to line up and just run Q power or power read or this, that, and the other. And then it's the same thing with Jackson Arnold. So, is it the same plan for each defense, Blaine, going into this game, which means which offense, right, is going to be willing to maybe take that chance on the trick play, maybe go for that 4th and 4 at their own 47, maybe in the first half. I'm wondering, how similar these defensive plans will be, I guess.
The thing about it is what Brent does is just the eye candy that'll give you and can be something completely opposite. I mean, if you're Oklahoma and you're walking this game and you look at this Auburn defense, I'm not that afraid of what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have Keldrick Falk, who's going to be a day one NFL player off the edge. I mean, he can be in the difference in this game, but there's nothing that really stands out to me about this Auburn defense. And I think Oklahoma can take advantage of that, especially with John Mateer, at quarterback. This is one of those things I think if Oklahoma can stay low on the penalties, right, cannot turn the football over and not shoot themselves in the foot, I think they're a more complete team than Auburn. But I think this game could get weird if Auburn gets confidence early, right, and their defense does get John. Now, it's the thing about it is it's not only getting to Mateer, right? It's getting him on the ground, which is so hard to do. So if you're Auburn and you're ends, you can't just go rushing upfield, right? I mean, Mateer will kill. You have to keep everything contained. If I'm Auburn, I'm approaching this game and trying to make them one-dimensional. If I'm Oklahoma, I'm just running my stuff. All right, I'm running my stuff. I think my best is better than your best. I think Oklahoma at their best will end up winning this game.
Jake, one point on that for the Auburn defense. I think Auburn's defense needs to come in with a very dynamic game plan and throw a lot of different looks at John Mateer in a way that maybe Oklahoma's defense doesn't need to do that. We'll see. But the reason I say that is because just remember, Sawyer Robertson in that first game for Baylor threw for over 400 yards against that Auburn defense. Yeah. They had a wide receiver and a tight end both go over 100 yards receiving through the air. And Auburn got away with that because they were able to stifle Baylor's run game and hold them to 60 yards. My worry is if John Mateer's throwing for over 400 yards against you or even 300 yards, what that's then going to do is open up the Oklahoma run game, and now you're going to be getting it every which way from them.
You're 100% correct. And look, DJ Durkin is a brilliant football mind. There's a reason he makes the money that he makes. So he's going to do what he's probably always done. But if it was me, and I was Auburn and I was facing Mateer, and I turn on that tape and I watch against equal or greater value, right, Baylor run around, and then I watch some of the guys that South Alabama have that could really run around that gave Auburn a problem in man coverage. Why would I not come out early in this game and make it look like I'm doing what I always do? I make it look exactly like I'm doing what I always do, but I just sprinkle in a little bit of zone. Just sprinkle, because you don't want to do the same thing. You don't want to live in that world. You got to mix it up, but sprinkle in some zone, right? Maybe in important downs to try and mix it up, and then just keep showing him the same thing and doing something different, and then revert back in the second half. That's the only way. There's not like one answer of, and I know I'm not saying you're saying this, but I hear some fans are like, well, that's who we are. We just got to do it the whole time. That's who we are. That's not necessarily true. You have your identity. You have your base stuff. There's who you want to be, and there's who you are.
Yeah.
You want to look in the mirror and look like a supermodel, right? With that 6-pack, right? Or those great curves if you're one of our lady friends out there. But sometimes it's just not it. Like Victoria's Secret just ain't calling, right?
That might be a good thing these days.
Yeah,
Couple,
put the phone down.
Krispy Kreme donuts over the limit of going to Milan for Fashion Week.
Well, you're gonna have to look. You're gonna have to take chances in this game. You just have to know when to take that. Sometimes you have to hit on 16 when the dealer's showing a 10.
Well, no,
right?
but I'm not even saying like don't take that. I'm like,
I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Thank you.
On 1st and 10, are you gonna rush 5 and play skinny in the back? So then when Mateer makes the guy miss,
well, you got
Deion Burks running wide open across the middle of the field. See, I'm going to be expecting it.
I want you to think I'm bringing 5, right, and playing skinny in the back.
You are.
Then you want me to think that I'm thinking that you thought that, right? So now you think I'm bringing 4. I bring 2.
And guess what? No one rushes.
No one rushes. What Auburn did against LSU in 2019.
No one rushes.
Exactly what
it's pure cinema. Look, he's going to move the ball. He's going to score points. You just got to. Sometimes you just got to catch his ass one time. One time I'm going to play, just trick him.
Not good enough.
Which field goals is another advantage Oklahoma. I mean, Auburn on the field goal kicking standpoint.
Yeah. They did make special teams mistakes, though, in that game against Michigan.
Yeah, Oklahoma they did. Yeah, they did.
I'm really interested to see the way Oklahoma's secondary is going to approach Auburn's receiving core and Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton.
That's a problem.
Because, I mean, what are you going to do? You going to sit in one high? Yeah. You're going to sit in a 2-high shell? Are you going to bring one down? You're going to roll them late?
Well, that's why Baylor did that.
I'm sure knowing Brent, he's going to run a lot of cut. I mean, he's going to run a lot of combo coverages. But I'm just telling you, it'd be a game. It's going to be a cat and mouse game now. It's going to be a cat and mouse, and sometimes that mouse just gets away. Where'd he go?
Yeah, well, it's like I had a coach used to say, well, it just depends on who's the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say one more thing because I'm seeing, a lot of Oklahoma fans are wondering, and we're wondering too, quite honestly, is like, where is Jay Knott? The running back who transferred in from Cal, and he had 4 rushes for 11 yards against Temple. To me, like, I don't know if he's still hurt or if he's not hurt. I mean, but if he's not hurt, it even bodes better for you that this freshman, Torrey Blaylock, is taking over, rushing for 100 yards, multiple touchdowns on the season. Like, to me, there's no reason to panic whatsoever because you got a young running back who's stepping up to the plate and delivering in these situations.
Oh, no, without a doubt. And we know what they do in like the jet sweep game as well to Burks and Satania. So, when you have a guy like Mateer, the run game is already built in. It's just adding pieces around it because you don't want Mateer to obviously take the wear and tear of having to carry the load on the ground in the SEC, too many times.
Yeah, this is an old Alabama problem, in my opinion.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, no, our third string's Jay Knott.
Yeah.
Say, oh no, our third string's Trent Richardson.
Blade said Haynes King is the guy from Hacksaw Ridge. He just keeps going.
He is saving lives, man. I can't wait to pick this game. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. We'll make our predictions Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna make our pick on Wednesday of who we think wins this game. Let us know in the comment. We're gonna pin it. All right. Give us a score. Auburn going on the road to Oklahoma. You said the spread's 5.5, Blaine?
The spread is 5.5. I'm going to be putting it back up, and I believe the over/under I saw. Yeah, so right now the spread's 5.5, laying even money. Auburn plus 162 on the money line. The over/under 47.5. Very interesting.
This is going to be a good one. A bunch of good ones. So make sure you're locked into Crain and Company all week, all weekend, all the time. We appreciate you guys like the chances. Let's not being excited. about some SEC football, college football, Big Ten, doesn't matter, just football. Hell, even NFL. We're going.